There is a fear that few people talk about, a fear that hides beneath many of the decisions we make, a fear that quietly influences careers, relationships, dreams, and even the way we see ourselves. Most people believe their greatest fear is failure, but often that isn't true. Many people are not afraid of failing. They are afraid of becoming who they truly are. That may sound strange at first. After all, why would someone fear becoming themselves? Because becoming yourself requires change. It requires honesty. It requires letting go of identities that no longer fit. And perhaps most frightening of all, it requires taking responsibility for your own life. For many years, it is possible to live according to expectations. The expectations of family, the expectations of friends, the expectations of society, the expectations of a culture that constantly tells us what success should look like, what happiness should look like, and who we should become. There is comfort in following a script written by someone else. The path may not feel meaningful, but at least it feels familiar. The problem begins when a quiet voice inside refuses to disappear. A voice that asks difficult questions. Is this really the life I want? Am I becoming the person I wish to be? If nobody else's expectations existed, what would I choose? Many people are not afraid of failure. They are afraid of becoming who they truly are. Because becoming yourself requires change. It requires honesty. It requires letting go of identities that no longer fit. There is comfort in living according to expectations, but there is no freedom in it. Psychologists often observe that human beings create identities long before they fully understand themselves. We develop labels. We adopt roles. We tell stories about who we are. Sometimes those stories help us grow, but sometimes they become cages. A person may continue carrying an identity they outgrew years ago, simply because it feels safer than facing the unknown. Sociology teaches something equally fascinating. Human beings are deeply influenced by the groups around them. We naturally seek belonging. We learn from imitation. We absorb values from our environment. There's nothing wrong with this, until belonging becomes more important than authenticity. When that happens, people stop asking who they are and start asking who they need to be in order to be accepted. That is where many inner conflicts begin, the conflict between comfort and growth, between acceptance and authenticity, between safety and purpose. The ancient philosophers often encouraged self-examination, not because they believed people were broken, but because they believed people were largely asleep to their own potential. Most individuals spend years trying to improve their lives without first understanding themselves. It is like trying to navigate a vast ocean without knowing where you want it to go. One of the greatest tragedies in life is not failure. It is spending years becoming the person others expect while never discovering who you truly are. Belonging matters, but authenticity matters too. The moment you stop asking, "How do I fit in?" and start asking, "Who am I becoming?" everything begins to change. Many people imagine that self-discovery is a dramatic event, a sudden revelation, a single life-changing moment. But more often, it happens quietly. It happens when you choose honesty over appearances. It happens when you stop pretending to enjoy what no longer fulfills you. It happens when you allow yourself to question old assumptions. It happens when you become curious about your own life again. Curiosity is one of the most underrated forms of courage. It allows us to explore unfamiliar territory without needing all the answers. A curious person does not demand certainty before moving forward. They remain open. They remain willing to learn. They remain willing to be transformed by what they discover. That openness is especially important during difficult seasons. There will be moments when life feels uncertain, moments when old identities fall apart, moments when the future appears unclear. Yet those moments are not always signs that something is wrong. Sometimes they are signs that growth is taking place beneath the surface. A caterpillar cannot become a butterfly without leaving its former existence behind. A seed cannot become a tree without first breaking open. Nature reminds us again and again that transformation often looks like loss before it looks like growth. Transformation often feels uncomfortable because something old must end before something new can begin. A seed must break open. A caterpillar must leave its former form behind. Growth is rarely about becoming someone else. It is about becoming more fully yourself. Perhaps that is why so many people resist change. Not because they lack strength, but because they mistake uncertainty for danger. They assume that not knowing exactly what comes next means they should stop moving. Yet some of the most meaningful experiences in life begin with uncertainty. Every friendship starts with uncertainty. Every dream starts with uncertainty. Every act of courage starts with uncertainty. You do not need to know everything about the future to take a meaningful step forward. You do not need complete confidence. You do not need perfect clarity. You only need enough courage to remain honest with yourself, because the life you are searching for may not be found by becoming someone new. It may be found by removing everything that prevents you from being who you already are. And perhaps that is the hope hidden inside every season of uncertainty. You are not lost simply because you are changing. You are not failing simply because you are questioning old paths. You are not behind simply because your journey looks different from someone else's. The future is not asking you to become a copy of another person. Life is not asking you to fit perfectly into someone else's expectations. The invitation is far more personal than that. It is asking you to discover who you are and to have the courage to become that person, because some of the most beautiful chapters of your life have not been written yet, and they cannot begin until you stop trying to become someone else and finally allow yourself to become you.